This is Acadiana Affairs.
Good morning, Troy Leger, checking in for Acadiana Affairs this week. One of my friends is in to visit with us about an organization that she founded and is running in the Acadiana area, one which I may say I think is probably doing a lot of great stuff for the folks that are coming into contact with the organization. We just need to let more people know about it. It's called Tears to Treasures, and Michelle Durand, that's how you pronounce your last name.
Yes.
Spelled D-U-R-A-N-D, like Sydney Mae Durand, or
right.
Durand. She was well known out of the St. Martin Parish area. You are from the same area, right?
Yeah, New Iberia.
So you're from this area. You're a homegrown girl, born and raised here, and you started Tears to Treasures. What is Tears to Treasures?
Tears to Treasures is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that promotes healing from past abortions and prevents future abortions.
Okay, and how do you do that, Michelle?
Well, first of all, I share my abortion experience. I had an abortion as a teenager, and I suffered for many years because I didn't know what an abortion was. I didn't know what it was going to do to me, how it was going to affect my life, my family's life, my relationships. For many years, I suffered. And
how, when you say suffer, how do you find people manifest? What if I thought somebody was struggling with something, didn't know what it was? Are there specific things that differ? Is it individual, or does everybody kind of do the same things in the guilt about this? Some people hide, some people use drugs. I mean, what was your case, for instance?
Well, in my case, I really tried. I didn't even tell the father of the baby that I was pregnant. I just went and had an abortion without him knowing. Wow. And that happens a lot too. So the fathers really have no right. The men have no right. So that's why a lot of men aren't speaking out about abortion, because they already feel like they are right to strip from them to begin with. So what are they going to go around saying right now?
Right.
You ever hear any men talking about abortion or
no.
that have been affected by abortion? But they have been affected by abortion. I've been doing this for 10 years, and men are suffering and they are hurting from abortion. It's just not commonly known. It's hard enough to get the women to come forward and say, I've had an abortion, nobody knows. They don't really realize if they're, after an abortion, you just try to numb the pain and you don't want to think about it. So a lot of times they do the drugs and the alcohol to numb the pain. Then they feel so guilty and ashamed and unworthy that they don't really respect themselves. So they don't demand respect from other people. They get into relationships that are not healthy.
So the product of all of that, it just leads to more problems, really, if you don't deal with it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had an abortion early on. How old were you?
I was 14.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So, when you say you didn't tell the father, you didn't tell the other child that was involved, basically, is what we're talking about, right? Wow. But he's a man now and still has an issue with it.
Yeah, he was 16 at the time, and that was 31 years ago. So he still feels a big loss, because it is a loss. He lost his child. Yeah,
because you'd be thinking how old that person is, about the birthday time, stuff like that.
What the child would look like and things they could be doing with that child. So, yeah, it's things that they try to, when those thoughts come, though, after you've had an abortion, you just push them away. You suppress them. You just push them down.
Right. So, Tears to Treasures is working not just for women, but for men.
Absolutely.
In the Acadiana area.
Yes.
So, and I presume for some couples who also have that to deal with, because I was thinking, what if you married someone who had not told you they had aborted a child before you married them, and say you're 5 years into the relationship and all of a sudden it comes up?
Well, that's a very good point, Troy, because with abortion, a lot of the symptoms are guilt, shame, anger, anxiety, the inability to forgive themselves, low self-esteem, relationship problems, dreams or nightmares, eating disorders, alcohol, drug abuse, self-punishing behaviors such as cutting themselves or eating disorders, sexual problems. And that's where I want to really kind of focus on that a little bit, because I speak to teenagers and I encourage them, before you get married, ask your future spouse, have you ever been through an abortion experience? Because those symptoms are going to be there if they haven't been healed.
Right.
And a lot of anger. So they're going to come out in that relationship, in the marriage, and that person may or may not know. Why is my wife acting like this?
Right. And unexplainable sort of behavior. Yeah. So what's the first step? If you're listening to this right now and you're one of those people who maybe hasn't talked to anybody about it, very few people, maybe just a friend, maybe a parent or somebody knows, but you really haven't dealt with it, and they're okay, it's time to do something about it. How does this start where you're involved, and how do they get involved? And is it just them and you? Is it them in a group situation? I mean, what sorts of ways is Tears to Treasures helping folks bring this out into the open and deal with it in their lives?
First of all, when they first hear something like this and they feel like, oh, wow, I had an abortion, and maybe I do need to think about it. Maybe it is affecting areas in my life and I haven't really realized it. You always have that feeling inside that you need to deal with it, but you don't want to go back to the pain. But it's so important to deal with it and just be healed from it. And so therefore it's not a secret any longer. But
if somebody wants to deal with it confidentially with you for whatever reason, that it's all confidential.
Absolutely. Everything's strictly confidential. And the first thing they do, the first step is to call me at 337-322-2060 or actually, and we have a website, tearstotreasures.com. However, most of the people contact me through Facebook. I am on Facebook under Michelle Durand, Durand, and they'll send me a message and say, I went to your website and I see what you're doing, and I had an abortion as well. And so at that point, I have them come in and meet me at my office place, and we just sit down and I just let them talk. This is maybe the first time they've ever shared their abortion experience. I don't judge. I mean, I'm not there. We don't judge. I've been through this, so I'm familiar with what they're sharing, and they share. And then I offer them. I tell them when our next group is starting. We have small groups of no more than 6, and I let them know when that is, and they're usually very willing and wanting to come to the next group.
So it gives you a place to be supported by people who have walked that path, who've made those decisions for whatever reason, and sometimes, listen, I mean, there are times when I think due to medical reasons, sometimes somebody might even have an abortion and still, even though it was at the threat of the mother's life, walks away with the fact that a child's pregnancy had to be terminated, I guess.
Yeah.
You probably see it all. I mean, just every kind of different situation.
I do, and it's what we do in the group is a grieving process. We're going to grieve the loss of the baby. It's not an it. You see, an abortion, it's easy. Our mind, and we tell ourselves it's just a blob of tissue. It's an it. We don't think of it as a boy or a girl. It doesn't have a name. It's just an it. Right. So it's easier to just not deal with it, thinking that it's just an it. It's just a blob of tissue. It's not really a baby, but it is a baby. And deep down inside in their heart, they know it's a baby, and they feel that emptiness and that hole and that big empty hole that can't be closed. And that's what the group does. It brings closure.
Gotcha. There's so much social pressure, especially when someone gets pregnant young, and there's perceptions that come into play depending on the parents, depending on the track that the child is currently on. If they're a troubled child already rebelling, or they could be college bound, they could be scholarships, and all of this plays into a decision as to whether that child's life's going to be impacted and how the pregnancy is going to play into that. What if you were talking to the parents of teens? And you wanted to tell them what's important to let your teenager know so that we can avoid this. Because you're a parent who is concerned about your child, but someday you'll be a grandparent wondering what that grandchild would have been like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you've got to calculate that into. I mean, what do you tell parents to talk to their kids about?
First of all, one great tool I have is Holly's Story, and that's a movie that was made about my situation, my experience. Great tool to use. I'm saying at 12, 13, before they even become sexually active, watch that movie. It's non-graphic, and it just shows that, you make the choice to have sex, you could get pregnant. And then one of those, the peer pressure is to have an abortion, and then it shows how it affects the family relationships. Parents do not know what abortion is and what it does. Many people don't. If I'm sitting in front of someone and they're pregnant and they don't want to be, and they tell me they want to have an abortion, the first question I say is, do you know what an abortion is? Most of the time they say no. And
okay, so tell me what it is.
An abortion, well, there's different ones now. We have the abortion pill, which they can take the pill and then go home and they'll past their baby.
Right.
There's risk. They could bleed. They could hemorrhage. Then there's the medical procedures that they can go to a abortion clinic in Baton Rouge or Planned Parenthood in Texas and have the abortion procedure, which is painful.
And also threatening to future possibility of bearing children.
Gosh, yes.
You're exposing yourself to potentially not ever being able to have a kid. Something goes really wrong. Yeah,
it's so true. I've heard people tell me that the only child I could ever, in tears, and in agonizing pain, the only child that I could ever have, I aborted.
Wow. Yeah, so that's got to be heavy.
Yeah.
Okay, so
so parents,
where do you find that movie? I mean, is it on DVD or?
It's on DVD. Yeah.
Holly's Story, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
and they can call me. They can contact me, or they can order it from the website.
Okay.
And the proceeds go to help Tears to Treasures as well. So it's a tool they can use, but it also helps to prevent abortions and promote healing. And I just encourage parents to get all the information and to know that this isn't the best answer and the best solution for their child.
Right. So when you're talking to teens, you say you speak at schools around Acadiana, and so what's your message in front of teens? Are you talking abstinence? Are you talking protection? I mean, what do you talk to them about? Because in today's society, so many mixed messages.
I know.
You've got Glee, which on the one hand, and look, if you're a Glee fan, I'm not trying to take a position. I'm not trying to be the judge of anybody's behavior. That's just not my position. That's between you and God. Okay, but I'm just taking a program. You've got Glee. Lots of sexuality issues, homosexuality issues, all of that going on. And in the same show, Gwyneth Paltrow showing up as the sex ed coach, and sexualizing the whole thing and making it look cool. And at the same time, there's a virginity club that's happening. So many mixed messages, I guess. So
yes.
I do like the fact that the show has an awesome amount of inclusivity, so that no matter where you are, maybe you'll get hooked by something, and maybe you get to see the Virginity Club where you might not have hooked into it before. So I'm not going to down it in any way. Love the show, but wow. If I was a teenager, I'm thinking, okay, which one of those messages am I getting? So what are you talking to kids about?
It's hard. I have two teens. My son's 19, my daughter's 18. And the truth is, they know everything about me, everything I've been through. I've raised my children to remain abstinent till marriage. But our children are going to make the decisions that they want. And I mean, we can do our job as a parent, but
there's a lot of power in that today. There's a lot of power.
Pressure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so it's hard. I mean, when I speak to students, yes, I encourage them to remain abstinent till they get married, but I realize I'm not naive enough to think that they're all going to do that.
Right.
So I also realize that a lot of them already had sex. So, it's to teach them that if you do not remain abstinent and you find yourself in an unplanned pregnancy, and you find out the facts about abortion. To a young guy, don't just give her the money and go bring her and drop her off at the abortion facility and then go pick her up. Parents too. I've heard of parents doing that. And so the parents have a lot of guilt as well that they need to deal with, and they need healing too. Think about this.
No, we had that in my family. My mom's passed on, so it's not like I could ask her if I could talk about it, but there was that in my family, and it was about your age level, 14, and the first time out, that was their decision and her decision to support, and till she died. I mean, it was probably the decision she would have taken back in her entire. And look, my mom did lots, was a rebel with a cause, but one of the few things that I think as she looked at her grandchildren, just that there was a missing link now, because she played a part, and she said, I will never ever, I wished I didn't, and I would never do it, and I would never suggest anybody do it.
Right. A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people take it to the grave. That's why I have Tears to Treasures. They don't have to. They don't have to wait. They don't have to wait till they're dying to decide that, this is something I'm taking to the grave with me. I'll regret it all my life.
Make something positive out of it.
Yeah, they can receive healing.
And I would imagine, when you say receive healing, so for someone who's out there in pain about this, who still suffers the decisions of the past, you can't change it. It's a done deal. What are some of the things that people think? Is it that God will never forgive me? Is it that I'll never forget? I mean, what's what's the transition that gets you from that hard place? Because you can't undo it.
Right.
You can't. And depending on how you hold yourself responsible for it, how do you get people to realize, okay, yeah, you made a decision, but here's where here's where we can be if we look at it a different way. I mean, what's the transition? What brings people through?
Well, a lot of people do tell me that they know they're forgiven, and they'll stay in that place. Like, I know I'm forgiven, and everyone tells me, the people that know about it, they don't know how to. If their friend knows they had an abortion, they don't know what to say except, don't be so hard on yourself. Just forget about it. It's in the past. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But that doesn't change the pain that's still in her heart. So, and then the most common thing I hear from almost every woman is, I know God forgave me, but I can't forgive myself. And when I first heard that for so long, I just kept thinking about it. And I finally realized that, what they're really saying is, like, I know God can forgive me, and God's the only one who can forgive me. I just can't accept his forgiveness. So actually, the group they go through, Forgiven and Set Free, it gets them to that point where they can accept God's forgiveness and know that their baby's in heaven. And that's where the closure and the healing comes. And then they know that, okay, I made a mistake, but no one has a right to judge me for what I've done.
Right.
People can. I don't care what people think. I get up and speak in front of 3,000 people in Baton Rouge. Yeah, I had an abortion. Am I proud of it? No. Do I regret it? Absolutely. I'd rather have my son Joshua David here with me and have a 30-year-old son on this earth, but I don't. But I know that one day I'll see him in heaven, and that's the hope that I have. So my pain is not here anymore, and I can speak about my abortion because I've been healed. It's like a wound that's been healed. The scar is there. I don't ever want to forget what I went through because I want to empathize with women who are going through what I'm going through and men who are going through it. To be able to reach out to them and let them know that I do know what you feel, and there is hope, and you don't have to stay hurting like you are right now.
Now, do you do this all by yourself? Do you have help? Are there people involved? Do some of the people who come through the program then turn around and help other people?
Absolutely. Almost every person who goes through the program, they're so excited after and so healed that they want to help other people because they know how they felt before, and then they see how they feel after.
Bring people in from that suffering.
Yeah, and they want to reach out and they want to share. And so before, when they first come in, no one knows about their abortion. They would never go on radio or TV and talk about it. And now they do. And I'll tell you one thing, it's very common too, is I realized one day I'd known someone for many, many years, and we finally one day I shared about my abortion, and then she said, I had an abortion too. And so I realized that they're not going to tell me their secret until I tell them mine. And so the women are experiencing that after they've gone through my group. They're seeing that, wow, there's a lot of people out here. 1 out of 3 women have abortions.
Wow.
500,000 in Louisiana. That's 1 million men and women who have been through abortion experience.
The part that I think about, first off, that's a phenomenally large number. I didn't realize it was that big. Part I think about is just one life. If you look at, the people who come through me, the births that come through my lineage or your lineage, you have 2 kids, they have 2 kids, they have 2 kids. And you look at that 100 years or 200 years from now, how taking that one life out through abortion impacts a generation of people who are not going to get to come through that line now. And you start adding that up times 500,000 people, and look at how many just things that God blessed a parent with or a future parent, and the person never got to be here to bless us with their presence, to bless us with his creation. I guess it's astounding the impact that it has over a period of time.
It is. It's very sad. But
what do you think about state and national legislation? Are we on track? Are we just...
We're making some headway, with they have a wait period now, and they're working on the ultrasound bills. So, there's people who are doing a lot of legislative work to try to, especially giving women information and letting them know about risks. Women have a right to know the risk from abortion.
And from the other side, because if you're not going to do an abortion, obviously, if you can't raise the child for whatever reason, don't want to or can't, there you have to weigh the other side of it. Okay, now I've got the medical costs, I've got all the expenses, abortion as opposed to adoption,
right?
Which is the other option. So how is the system working, and does it work well? Are y'all participating in any of that at this point, or is it just the healing? How do you help somebody who says, okay, I heard about this, I don't want to do the abortion, help me find some way to have the baby and have a minimal financial impact and maybe bless somebody else's family with this child?
Yeah. Well, there's a pregnancy, we have 2 pregnancy centers here in Lafayette.
All right.
So I definitely am networked with them, and I encourage women to go there for free pregnancy tests, ultrasound, maternity needs.
Okay.
And then even after, I really encourage me as a person and as a founder and director of Tears to Treasures. I see the women. I counseled quite a few women last year. One actually had twins, and she was really wanting to have an abortion. We didn't really want it, but she was feeling like that was her only option at the time. Yeah,
she was trapped, didn't know what to do. Yeah,
she was in a very bad situation.
Okay,
and she decided to not abort. So now her twins are almost a year, and I'm here for her. And so I feel like I am trying to build a team. I need people who have a heart for this ministry.
Right.
Because these women, I've talked to them and they didn't have an abortion. But, being pregnant is one thing. But after you have a baby and maybe 2, then you have 2 mouths to feed. You have crying babies.
Right.
You need a break. You need diapers. You need food.
Right.
And you need childcare. And it's difficult. And so I don't feel like it stops. And I say, now that's not my problem. No, I feel like God has called me to where I see a need, I'm going to try to help get that need met.
Right,
so I network with the community, to find out about diaper banks and find out where they can get child care, and if they're just coming out of prison, where they can get a job,
right?
So that they can receive help, because they'll say, okay, that's great. Where are all these people who told me not to abort?
Right.
I need them now more than ever.
Right,
now that I have these children.
Right. That's what I was kind of leading into. So as part of what you're doing, you obviously, I understand, quit a job and quit a good job to start Tears for Treasures and do this full time, to be fully committed to your passion here in Acadiana. And so you've got a fundraiser coming up very soon. And so tell everybody, if they wanted to help, don't have the, can't plug in, can't be part of your organization, but want to be part of a monetary push to kind of get your organization funded. This is the inaugural fundraising event. So what are you doing?
We're going to have a barbecue fundraiser. Not a cook-off, it's a fundraiser.
Okay.
We need people to come out and help barbecue, chicken and sausage. We're going to have rice dressing beans and drinks. That's going to be $5 for that. We're not selling tickets. They just come to Cajun Harley Davidson in Scott off I-10, exit 97. It's a family event, non-alcoholic. All the proceeds will go to Tears to Treasures. We are a federal 501c3 nonprofit organization, which means any donations they're able to write off on their taxes. We're going to have live music. I have a lady flying in from Salt Lake City, and she's going to be singing, as well as Nathan Sam and a lot of different local artists, Ken Holloway.
Oh, cool. Couple of Christian artists. Nathan Sam from Crowley area just had
Nathan
a big
Sam,
album release. I believe he was just here for a CD signing. And Ken Holloway also, I've heard his music. It's awesome. He's been touring for quite a while. So excellent. And what else? And
we're going to have a live auction. So we need a lot of items donated for our auctions, like hunting trips, fishing trips, things that people will want. People will give them money because they know it's going to a good cause, and they'll receive something that they want. Giveaways, face painting, raffles, cakewalk, and we're going to have Zoo Zoom, a petting zoo. So it's going to be a great, fun family event to promote awareness, to raise awareness, and to raise funds to help. We do not charge for these services.
Right.
We are peer counseling, but everything is free, and even so we don't get money for that.
So you got to find a way to keep the organization going. Again, this is the first annual barbecue fundraiser, Saturday, April 9th. It starts at 10 a.m., and I guess we'll go on probably till maybe
about
2 or
4.
Oh, great.
Now, and if someone can't make it and they want to make a donation, they can go to tearstotreasures.com, and we have a PayPal button there. And they can also become a monthly donor, and they can sponsor
Right.
a woman, a man,
Right.
in memory of a baby that was lost due to abortion, miscarriage, stillborn, anything like that. We promote life. We're a pro-life organization. But they're able to donate on tearstotreasures.com or mail a check. And information's all on the website.
Michelle Durand with Tears to Treasures. She's been up about a year now, right?
Yes.
And this is the first big fundraising event, again, Saturday, April 9th, 10 a.m., Cajun Harley-Davidson. Free admission, family fun, and lots of good food. And we'll see you out there. We want you guys to do what you can to find Tears to Treasures online and plug into what Michelle is doing. And, everybody screams about trying to get abortion laws changed and, be pro-life. This is an excellent way for you to do a small part that will go a long way in the Acadiana area for making a difference.
Yes, and I just ask everyone to help spread the word. And they were also on Facebook.
Tears to Treasures, Michelle Durand. Thanks for coming in and talk to us today.
Thank you, Troy.